Hello, Nightblades. I'm Grim. I'm going to go through my open world Stamina Nightblade build uh, for the Clockwork City patch. And I have meant to put this out for a long time, but the build has really changed very consistently over the last two patches. And every time I change something, I feel like, oh, I should test this and I should test the alternatives that come with it. So it's taken a long time to get out. But we're finally going to jump into it here because I'm very happy with where I've landed. So I use two 5-piece sets. I use Bone Pirate and I use Hunting's Rage. And I put two triglyphs on the big pieces and then a health glyph on the third big piece. And then I put stamina glyphs on two of the small pieces and health glyphs on two of the small pieces. I've played around with different things. I actually think for open world I prefer having a little bit more stam, so I'd make two more small pieces stam, so I'd have two triglyphs, a health glyph, and four little stam pieces. But it's really up to play around with. If you feel like you're taking too much damage and you can sacrifice a little bit of stam utility and damage, then you can go with it. It's a very small difference. It doesn't really matter that much. On the jewelry, I use 3 weapon damage glyphs. I used Bone Pirate jewelry, of course, because you can't craft Hunting's Rage jewelry. So I'm using 5 pieces of Hunting's Rage on the body. Then, for weapons, we right now have 2 really strong options for 2-hand bow stam blades, and I think more than any other class we're in a great position to use a build pattern like this, where we have 2 one-piece weapon sets. So the first one is the Asylum Greatsword. Obviously it's better to have a perfected one. It only does one more ultimate potentially, but I believe it scales better, so you can get more ultimate more quickly. In any case, this is a great weapon regardless of whether or not it's perfected. I'd use it either way. Nirnhoned I think is the ideal trait. There are some other good options. Obviously Sharpened is decent. I probably wouldn't use Infused unless you're really in love with your glyph and its effects, but I don't think Infused is going to be much better unless you're light attacking a lot, which you're normally not. I think it's much better to get the buff to rally and your in cap and surprise attack and everything like that. Then and let me just say, the ultimate regen is insane. I really like the Asylum Greatsword.
I'm about to die in a sec now, meteor and everything. Oh no, it rolled off!
Jesus Christ, I don't know how the fuck you're doing that, dude! I don't understand.
I'm gonna die! I think my pot's not going off!
Yeah! So, the next weapon we're using is the Master's Bow, and this one can be a little bit harder to get than the Asylum Bow. You gotta run Vet DSA, but it's worth it, and nowadays it's easier to farm than ever because you can just trait change it to Infused, which I think is ideal. So I have my weapon damage glyph on the back bar, Infused, and it procs all the time, does a ton of damage, helps the build out a lot. I use a disease glyph on the Asylum Greatsword when I'm not running poisons, but for the most part I run poisons. It just depends. I'll get to those later though. I am a Wood Elf. I think Wood Elf is ideal for my playstyle. I really enjoy the max stam and especially the stamina recovery. It saves me from having to invest in the stamina recovery in other ways and allows me to put out as much damage as possible. The stealthy trait doesn't hurt either. Even though I'm not a ganker, having extra damage while in stealth can be really beneficial because of the amount that I spam cloak. And if you cloak into an in-cap or you cloak into a surprise attack, you just do more damage, and it's not a bad passive to have. There are a lot of races that would work, honestly. Redguard is a strong option, Khajiit is a strong option. You could do Imperial and Orc, but I like Wood Elf the most. So that's what I use. Not to mention that Wood Elves are sort of the Nightblade master race. It just makes sense. I like them. It's my RP. Let me have it. Next, the food I use. I really like the Honest Lassie Honey Tea, which is max magicka and stamina recovery. Let's see. It looks like this. It's a beautiful drink. I like it a lot. And that's part of why I use triglyphs and a health glyph, is because I don't have any health in my build from my drink. And of course we need a drink to run Bone Pirate, or else we don't get any effects from it. So food is out. Most people will use either something like this, or they'll use Dubious Cameron Throne. But for open world, the magical recovery is really important. There are a lot of defensive abilities in the Nightblade's kit that rely on having magicka. Fear, Shade, and Cloak, which are sort of the three most common, all rely on magicka. So it's good to have it when you need it, and I find that this gives me just enough that I'm always using it. It's never full, but it's also never empty. So I like this a lot. And of course having more stamina recovery means that we can run the Warrior and all glyphs like that. Next, potions I use a lot of different potions. I have 5 different potions in my kit at all times. Some I use more often, some less often. First of all, I use detect pots for finding other Nightblades when I'm in a little scuff with them. I try and use these early on in a fight if I know that the fight is going to become more dangerous. So if I expect a Zerg to come in and I have full stats, I'll use this at the beginning to quickly pin down a Nightblade. It's really great for catching people off guard.
Yeah, I hear them mage blade. Them mage light, yeah. What's a sword? There is 2.
They're still running the add-on. 3. Hi.
Now it's a level 30 something and sword.
Ambush. Right into an end cap.
Yeah, that wasn't super clever of him.
He doesn't seem like a super clever player.
Only you had shadow image that worked. Oh, Grim.
I don't know that snipe is worth it.
Dude, it's worth it. I also use trash magicka pots. If I'm running away from a Zerg and I know I'm going to need more than my magical recovery can give me, I'm gonna run out of magic and be exposed and then killed. You can essentially double how far you can cloak with just a trash magicka pot. So I like these a lot. My most commonly used pots in open world are tri-pots. You know, health, magicka, and stamina are really all very useful, and it can sort of reset a battle for you. If you're almost dead, you can pop a tri-pot, hit rally. Most likely it'll give you another in-cap up, just with how fast ulti regen is and how cheap in-cap is. So tri-pots are really effective. I use Essence of Invisibility pots to get away from Zergs. So you're invisible for 16 seconds and you gain Major Expedition, which means you don't have to roll dodge to gain speed. You can pop one of these and just be out of the way, and you can get out of the way of Zergs, and it keeps people from getting kills that they really don't deserve. So I like that. The ultimate defensive 1vx pot are Essence of Lingering Health pots. You gain a huge lingering health buff, and stacking that with a rally is just incredible. You gain, you know, almost 1500 2k health per second, which is a ton. Then of course you also get, when you first pop it, you gain Major Vitality. So if you're in a pinch, you can pop one of these, hit rally, you can make it crit with Cloak, and you know that you'll get a big heal. So those are really strong too. Those are the pots I use. I also cycle through different poisons as part of my kit. So if we go into here, There are several really strong poisons in the game, and essentially, if you're not running an infused weapon, poisons are going to be better. They're so strong, almost like cheating, but for the most part, I don't like using stam drain poisons because they're sort of the ultimate XV1 pot. I mean, you put him on a guy and you can zerg him down and you know he'll die, he won't be able to recover. But if you're fighting multiple people, you want either just to kill them really quickly, you want it to be part of your burst, you want the poison to add to your burst potential, or you need to do something else significant like give you resources back. I don't find I need resources back, so I will most often use double damage health poisons. These are really effective. They tick for a long time and they do a lot of damage on top of your burst. It really helps killing people who just barely escape. This with poison injection kills a lot of people. Pretty good.
But look at the colors and stuff. You can pull it up from what I put in the phone. So don't order anything today.
Okay, roger that. Other options are these, which do a lighter double dot, same damage, less time, and then they increase the cost of stamina abilities. I think these are much better than increasing the cost of magicka abilities because even magicka builds, you can stam check, you can increase their cost of roll dodging or breaking free. If you know that you have this proc on someone, you can fear them, and when they break free, it'll cost a lot more. And then the next time you fear them, they will very likely be out of stamina if they're a magicka build. Otherwise, it's going to hit everything on a stamina ability, and it's rough. It's a very mean poison. I'm not really sure these should be in the game, but they're an option. I really only crafted them for this. I don't really use them open world, but it's an option. Another poison that I really like is a minor defile poison. So it does a decent poison dot, and then also inflicts minor defile, which reduces their healing by 22% for 3.5 seconds. So I don't really like the low time that it gives you. It's only roughly 4 seconds that defile is on them, but defile is so strong. If, for example, you're fighting someone that relies on a burst heal and this happens to be on them when they're doing that burst heal, it can really choke someone into death. And if you combine it with a consistent source of major defile, it stacks beautifully and you can kill tanks because they just can't recover from it. So I like these. I think they're kind of fun. Let's see, for CP, just go through it really quickly. I have 2 in Warlord, just the 2-point wonder there. I wish I could put a little bit more, but recently I've been putting everything in Befoul. I have 47 in Arcanist, 64 in Mooncalf, and 11 in Tenacity. Mostly so I can get the wind running passive, which is really useful. And of course, since I use both stamina and magicka regen, this is nice. I wouldn't go any higher than 64. 11 in Tenacity is nice because I do use heavy attacks somewhat frequently, and it's nice to get more stamina back from them. I use 82 in Befoul because Befoul is very, very strong this patch. Keeping people from healing is such a great way to kill even the tankiest players. That's nice. And then of course I use some into Tumbling. If you don't want to use Befoul, or you have no source of major or minor Befoul, take him out of this and put him into Tumbling and Warlord, and you'll have much better stamina sustain. I wouldn't put any more into this. You're going to get huge diminishing returns, but by reducing the cost of break free and roll, you're going to get a lot out of that. So that's what I would do. I have 72 Mastered Arms, 6 Physical Weapon Expert, which is just because diminishing returns are so strong that I feel like it's better to get a little bit more out of light attacks, and I use a lot of the light attacks. I light attack cancel in between every melee combo, try and get the poison to proc, and then I use it all the time on my back bar with bow. I light attack to proc the increased weapon damage, so that's really useful. 7 in Thaumaturge. Once again, it's essentially a sink because I didn't want to put any more into piercing, and I use poison injection, and so it's nice. I wouldn't put any more than this because everything in my build is single target, except, or not single target, but instant damage and not damage over time. So I would not put any more than 7 into Thaumaturge unless you're running some sort of dot build. Precise strikes, I put a lot into this because if you get a crit, if you get 2 crits in a row with this much in precise strikes, you pretty much get a kill, and since I have 50% crit roughly, you can guarantee a lot more kills like that. I use 30 into piercing because I have no other form of penetration in my build, because I use a Nirnhoned sword. But this is a little high. I might take some out of piercing and put it into mighty. I haven't really played around with that too much, but it's probably what I would do. 72 into ironclad, 20 into resistant, 64 thick skin, 37 hardy, 37 elemental defender. Let's see. And this, you sort of play around with your defensive CP based on what you fight. When I die, it's usually from direct damage abilities. I have lowish health overall. I get around 20k in Cyrodiil. So when I die, it's normally because someone was able to one-shot me. Either it's a DK's leap or another in-cap from a different Nightblade, something like that. I very rarely die from dots. You can take a lot of damage from dots, which is why I still put a decent amount into here, but I'm more focused on not getting one shot. And so really play around with this based on what you need. I have 20 into resistant, and really the key here is you want to hit roughly 2k crit resistance is sort of the sweet spot I aim for. So you can put more into resistant if you need it, or take more out. If you're running all impen armor, you can probably take some out, but I run 3 well-fitted pieces because I don't have a lot in tumbling, and I would like to have more, but instead I use well-fitted so I can use befoul. So I have well-fitted on the chest, well-fitted on the belt, and well-fitted on the shoes, and then impen on the other 4 pieces. And you can play around with this, of course, based on what you need as well. So right now I get 1800 crit resistance, which is decent, and if I took some out of befoul, then I could put more into I could put more into the well-fitted CP tree and make more of these impen, and that would give me more defense but less offense. So it's just about balancing what you need, what you want, what you're fighting. If you fight in groups a lot, it all depends. So that's for that. For skills, on my front bar, running the oh-so classic sort of default 2-hand Nightblade setup. There's some changes that you can make. First of all, I like ambush. The empower is nice. The snare is really nice. You can get a snare out of Stampede, which I think is better because you can just spam it and it's really powerful and costs less. The thing I don't like about Stampede is that it works very inconsistently for me on different terrain. So for example, if I'm trying to jump up a rock, ambush is going to do a lot more for me. Whereas Stampede, you get caught on things and it just acts a little bit weirdly. This could change in future patches and I might like Stampede more. But for now, ambush is really consistent. It's a cool Nightblade skill. I like it a lot. Mass hysteria. Fear is a very important part of fighting people. It's probably the strongest CC in the game, even after they nerfed it. Being able to CC people through block is incredibly powerful, solo and as part of a team. And it's a strong defensive ability because if you have 2 or 3 people on you, you can fear them, cut the numbers in half, and then you're more likely to be able to cloak away.
Crazy like that is just like a naked deal, and you know, I get so much bang for the buck out of it that I can afford to get rid of the igneous, free up some space on my front bar, and become more magically efficient. If you think about it, assume that I only had 4,000 magic left to spend. Am I going to use igneous or am I going to use draw essence, which heals me for 30,000? If you do the math on that, the igneous.
Rally, incredible burst heal, great heal over time, and then major brutality is necessary to any build, so this is the best way to get it. Surprise attack are spammable. I really like surprise attack. It's a big part of what sets Nightblade apart. You can combo it with cloak to get people from stealth and set them off balance. It's it's a really great way to kill people, and of course fracturing them helps you fight heavy armor opponents, things like that. Reverse Slice, my favorite execute in the game, especially, well, at least for stamina. I really like Reverse Slice. Animation canceling it is beautiful, works like a dream, and it's necessary to combo with the Asylum Sword because using Reverse Slice will give you ultimate based on how much bonus damage you do to them. So I start using this when people are around 30% health. It works as soon as they're below 50%, but you don't get great returns. You get more damage as a surprise attack, but once they're around 30, you get a lot of damage, and of course you get ulti back. So that's when I start, and you can execute people from 30% easily. I like Reverse Slice because the light AoE damage is actually worth a lot, and so I like it more than Executioner. If you're fighting guards, you can take out 2 or 3 guards at the same time, and I've taken out 2 players before at the same time. I've taken out 3 players before at the same time. If they're weak, you can do a lot with them. And if you're in a group scenario, it works even better, as other people are lowering the health of targets around you, and it's very easy to execute a whole bunch. In-cap strike is wonderful. It is a source of major defile, which is part of why I put so much into befoul. It CCs them, does a ton of damage, and it increases your damage by 20% for 6 seconds. So it's an incredibly powerful skill, and it's one of the cheapest ults in the game, if not the cheapest. So it's really hard to ignore. Other good options for group play, I often go with Dawnbreaker Smiting, which is really strong. I like that a lot too. It's a fun one. On the back bar, I use Shadowy Disguise, which is great because while you are cloaked, everything crits. So for example, if you use Vigor and then Shadow Disguise, every Vigor tick will crit, and then you can use Shadowy Disguise, swap bars, and hit Rally, and your Rally will crit. So really useful. This is my flex spot. I use a lot of different abilities here. Right now I'm using Relentless Focus. I think it's a great ability. It's wonderful to have Minor Berserk and Minor Endurance as part of your kit. Really strong. As soon as Shade gets working again, right now it's broken, I hear it'll be fixed soon. As soon as it's fixed, I'll be running Shade Open World. It's such a powerful defensive mechanic. It allows you to get away from so many horrible situations. It helps you plan out your battles so that you always have an exit strategy. Shade is great. I'd use it in a heartbeat. Sometimes I also use Snipe, and when I use Snipe, I use it in this spot. Snipe is a lot of fun. It's a great source of major defile. When you can land it, it's an incredible combo. It does a ton of damage. It's crazy. And since you can use Cloak to hide the fact that you're charging up a Snipe, it's a wonderful thing. Part of the reason that we use medium armor is for Shuffle. Shuffle's really strong. It's how we break snares, keep ourselves mobile, and the dodge chance is wonderful, of course. It's just free mitigation. Shuffle's really strong. I definitely recommend using it. If not, you'll have to use Momentum instead of Rally, and I love the burst heal of Rally, so I don't like doing that. If you use Momentum, you can still get part of the Shuffle passive. You can get the dodge chance and major and minor resolve, or not major and minor resolve, but what is it? Boop, boop, boop. Oh, here it is. Major evasion, minor resolve, and minor ward from Mirage, and so that's really strong too. So if I didn't use Shuffle and Rally, I would use Forward Momentum and Mirage. So different ways to play that. The Forward Momentum and Mirage is more likely what you'll do if you decide to run heavy armor instead of medium. Then Poison Injection, really important for the Master Bow, because people who you have Poison Injection ticking on will take more damage from you. They'll take around 200 extra weapon damage. Vigor, the best heal over time ever for stamina. Absolutely necessary to keep yourself alive. Very strong. Of course, you can combo it with Cloak, make sure it always crits. Right now I use Werewolf on my back bar just to increase the stamina recovery when I'm on my bow bar. So then with Relentless Focus and being on a werewolf bar, I get 2.4k stamina recovery. So that's really nice. Go over some combos really quick. So light attack, poison injection with rally up gives, oh, just missed it. It's like 4.3k. Yeah, 4.3k weapon damage, fully buffed there. Of course, you'll do another 200 weapon damage against someone who your poison injection is ticking on, which doesn't show up on your character sheet and also doesn't show up on your tooltip. Of course, the minor berserk doesn't show up on your character sheet either, but it will show up on your tooltip. So for example, if you have minor berserk, rally, do this, cloak, weapon swap, you can see that we get 4.6k damage when we're in stealth. So for example, if you were to do a stealth in-cap or a stealth surprise attack, that's what you'll be hitting for fully buffed. With continuous attack, you can get even higher, you can get to 5k, which is insane. So take those little resources. They do wonders for you. 10 minutes of just godlike powers and increased regen. So that is the build. I'm going to go over a few combos that I use quickly. Just in general, the kill combo is going to be light attack, surprise attack, in-cap, and reverse slice. It depends on what their health is. You just have to kind of read it out. So before a battle, I'll buff up. I'll kind of size up my target. Light attack or heavy attack, surprise or poison injection. You have to wait a second for the poison injection to tick. If you bar swap before poison injection hits, you won't get the buff from the damage. And if you bar swap before your light attack lands, you only get part of the weapon damage. It's very weird. You can still see, you still get a weapon damage buff, but you don't get the full thing. It's very, very weird. But if you light attack and then poison injection and then bar swap, you get the full weapon damage. So take some time on that. I always do. I just wait for that proc to go up and then I head in. So the full combo altogether is going to be light attack, poison injection. Get in there. So again, a little bit more slowly. I light attack, poison injection, bar swap, gap close, light attack, either surprise attack or light attack in cap, which I don't have up, then light attack, and then cancel. I almost always cancel executioner. So I'll do it one more time. Get fully buffed up. And that's how you do that. You can also, of course, block, cancel, and do all sorts of other fancy things, which is always really good to do. So that is one thing that's really important to practice. The better you are at this combo and how quickly you can pull it off is really going to affect your kill speed and how much damage you do per second. And open world, that can matter a lot, because when you have Defile going on someone, you have a few seconds of extra damage, you have a few seconds of all your buffs being up and getting the max weapon damage. So when you can fit all of your abilities into that like 3-4 second window, you can one-shot almost everyone in open world. So that's the build. I'm going to show you some clips and walk through them. I hope you enjoy it. Make adjustments where you need. Everyone's playstyle's a little bit different. Everyone's used to different circumstances. My build certainly isn't the end-all be-all, but I like it a lot, and I have tried just about everything. I've tried Eternal Hunt. I've tried all of the proc sets. I've tried all of the monster helms. I've tried like Eternal Hunt, Agility, Troll King, Bloodspawn, Celine's, Veladreth, and this is what I like the most. It does an insane amount of damage, does a great amount of healing, you have high health, high recovery. for having the warrior and 3 weapon damage jewelry, we still get this crazy amount of stamina recovery, and it's more than enough to 1vx. So that's the build. Hope you like it. Catch you guys next time. Here's some clips, I guess.
It's hard for me to look into your eyes when I say that I would be nothing with your love. I feel the rush and it's amazing. Baby, I've been always destined to end up in this place. Yeah, I don't mean to come off selfish, but I want it.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. It was a big, big world, but we thought we were bigger. Pushing each other to the limits, we were learning quicker. By 11, smoking herb and drinking burning liquor. Never rich, so we were out to make that steady figure. Once I was 11 years old, my daddy told me, go get yourself a wife or you'll be lonely. Once I was 11 years old. old. I'm still learning about life. My woman brought children for me, so I can sing them all my songs and I can tell them stories. Most of my boys are with me, some are still out seeking glory, and some I had to leave behind. My brother, I'm still sorry. Soon I'll be 60 years old. My daddy got 61. Remember life, and then your life becomes a better one. Once I was 11 years old.
Got that healing debuff on. And one more. GG.
Well played.